friends, how are you doing today? Hope you're all doing well. I certainly am, as I almost always am, because I'm stitching. It's a wonderful Saturday afternoon. Well, actually morning, I'm sorry. It's morning. It's morning. Saturday morning. The weather has finally broken. It feels like fall now. We all know how I feel about that, but actually, surprisingly, I am content with that because I don't have to run the air conditioner anymore. And, excuse me, and I'm kind of happy about that. Because the last week, I've had to run the air conditioner nonstop, and it has been hot and humid here in New Jersey. Which is just crazy for middle of October. So very pleased that I don't have to be running the air conditioner. We had Tropical Storm Michael come through on Thursday, and did not end up being nearly as intense here in the Mid-Atlantic as they kind of predicted it to be, or at least what I heard it to be predicted. So that was kind of a relief. It was a lot later. The rain started a lot later than was planned, and it didn't last nearly as long because I guess, I don't know if the storm started moving a lot faster than was initially projected or what, but so we did not get very much intensity. I think we got some thunder and lightning and some wind, and that was about it. And then the next day, it was very, very cold all day. It was only in the 60s, which was unusual for us just because it's been so warm. So it was just a kind of a shock to the system. But it is going to be a beautiful weekend. Looking forward to getting out and enjoying it. Breaking out the fall attire and clothing. And it'll be nice that it won't be quite a shock whenever, I jump on a plane and go to Minnesota and I guess it's already snowing there. So, they can keep it. I don't want the snow. And it better not follow me back. So, yeah. We have to move spots here, so I'm going to tie off my thread. So if you couldn't tell, I'm working on the Hedgehog SAL. Hashtag Hedgehog SAL on Instagram or wherever you post hashtags. For me, it is only on Instagram. I don't know anywhere else that I don't post it hashtags anywhere else, but you might. I don't know. Let me see where I need to do this first. Oh, I already did those ones there. How intuitive of me. Okay, so then we can go up to yellow, green, here. So this is the Riolis Hedgehog and Mushroom kit that I purchased on clearance at Hobby Lobby. I am doing the same pattern and kit that Buckeye Stitcher Nicole is doing. Here is what it will look like when it is finished. And that is what I have done so far. So you can see I am working down here in the leaves and berries. I have the mushroom stem done. And I'm slowly progressing one color at a time through this section. So how I'm doing the sections, and I spoke to this a little bit on Thursday in my update video, is I'm kind of breaking it up because like here is a section because all the greenery and berries is like together down here. And then of course they show up again over here. But for me to get there, I either have to count really far or I have to stitch this hedgehog first. And also to get there, I'm going to have to move the Q snaps. So I'm trying to color complete this bottom corner first. And then I'll probably move up into this hedgehog because I'm thinking I might be able to fit all of it up here, or the majority of that section. Because as you can see, I already have this here on the stitched. So I'm well over halfway up on the Q snap. So I might be able to fit the entire side of the piece on the Q snap and then just have to slide it over to finish the right hand side. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to do this side and then this side. So I am currently working in just filling in the greenery and all this fun stuff here as I stitch this piece. And let me tell you, I am really surprisingly enjoying this design. Let me see where I need to go. 1, 2. Here. You know, it's a nice change from a lot of my other pieces just because it's 14 count Aida. It is an easy counting piece. There are, I will say, the challenges with this one are that there are a decent amount of blended threads, which seem to be a normal thing in these Riolis kits. However, they really do add a lot of I can't speak today, a lot of depth to the quality of the final picture. So I'm quite pleased with how it turns out in the end. So it might be a little bit fiddly, but in the end, the product turns out very, very exceptional. And on screen, it is showing up much, much more vivid. Excuse me as I blow my nose, and I am not going to edit that out. It shows up much more vivid, the colors, than it is in real life. But when you step away, it does look very, very nice and vivid and defined in the detail. I was mentioning last week, the question that I had was, do I ever get burned out by all the crafting? And it's funny because I think I jinxed myself by talking about that, because at the beginning of the week, I did get burned out by stitching, but I don't think it was because of crafting itself. I really think it was because of what I was stitching on. And the fact that I was stitching on something I didn't really want to be stitching. Not that I didn't enjoy the stitching itself, but because it wasn't what I personally wanted to be stitching on, I think it really just kind of like deflated my interest levels. And so for 2 days, 3 days, I didn't stitch at all. And I just knitted, which was fine. I was still crafting, but it really showed me that, in order for me to continue my motivation, I need to stitch what I want and not be tied down to either a plan or an expectation or a requirement. So going forward, I'm really going to uphold myself to that if I don't want to stitch something, I'm not going to force myself to stitch it. And if I'm not feeling like stitching something on a certain day, then I'm going to switch and stitch on something else. Because why stitch something that you're just not feeling or not motivated to stitch? Now, I will say I've also been highly motivated lately to knit on my sweater because I'm really, really, really interested in my getting my sweater knitted up and ready for wearing in winter. So now, as you can see, the flosses that these are wool acrylic flosses in these Riolis kits, which I know are some people like and some people don't like. I am indifferent to them. They do get on my nerves occasionally. They do begin to fray and fluff up really quickly. So you have to keep a short strand. However, I will say I really do appreciate the way that Riolis has them bobbinated on these cards now. My snowy owl was not bobbinated like this. And I had to self bobbinate, and that was, I know I've talked about this many, many times before, was not fun at all. Okay, let's see where I need to go. So again, whenever I have a color that is solid, 2/1, I do use the loop method on the front and pull the loop to the back. So that way I don't have to flip over my piece to start. It makes the beginning go much quicker. We do one. Another thing I know many people have told me is how happy they are that I'm working on an Ada piece like this and they can hear the floss being pulled through the fabric. That was one of the big things that a lot of people, I got lots of comments on whenever I would do stitch with me's on my Riola Snowy Owl kit, was that auditory sound of this wool being pulled through the 14 count Ada. going back to the comment I was making about the fact that I need to be motivated to work on something if I want to continue, and I'm not forcing myself to work on projects that I don't feel the inclination to work on. Another thing that I'm going to start doing is really evaluating the projects that I have going at the time right now and looking at what I want to continue stitching. I've been thinking about it in the recent weeks and thinking about how I kind of feel like my tastes are starting to change a little bit. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail right now because I'm still in the preliminary thinking about are my tastes really changing? And so I'm really starting to evaluate, what types of projects do I want to start in the future. And so I also want to look at the projects that I have on the go and what I want to do with those projects long term. I have, I think, 6 projects on the go right now. I think that's about right. And they're all, other than this hedgehog piece, they're all massive projects. And so for me, how do I want to do this? I'm really wanting to evaluate this. I think the problem is that I have so many large projects going. I feel like I'm not making a lot of progress. And I am a product stitcher. I like the process, but I really truly am a product stitcher. I want to have product. And so for me, I feel like this year has been the year that I have not had a lot of finished pieces done. And I haven't really had a lot of progress made on those large pieces that I have going right now. And so for me to think about even starting more large projects, which we all know is mainly what I have in my pile of things that I want to start, is kind of overwhelming to me at the time. So I'm really starting to reevaluate because, there's lots of other projects that I really like out there that I also want to stitch that are not massive. So I'm thinking about how I want to approach 2019. Yes, I'm actually, and the more I talk about this, I'm like, wow, I'm actually planning. And that is not something I typically do whenever I talk about crafts because I am not a typical planner when it comes to my crafting because I do it for relaxation and I have to plan so much at work and in my normal daily life that whenever in my crafts I don't want to have to plan. But in this case I actually am, just because I don't want to get burned out from the hobby that I love so much. So it has been a very, very busy week at work, a super busy week in life. And I know as the holidays start to approach, life is only going to continue getting busier. And I know I'm not the only one that is true for. It's, that time of year where things continue to get busier and, a lot of times people say the summer is so busy. That is not the case for me. For me, I think the busiest time of year is right now, between now and the new year. And so, with everything going on, I'm probably going to, while I'm going to continue filming for my Confessions of a Floss Tuber videos, I'm probably going to end season 1 here at the end of October or the beginning of November. And then I'm going to begin season 2 at the beginning of January. That way then I have plenty of footage to prepare and have ready to go for the beginning of the year, so that we are because one of the biggest struggles with doing an interview type series is the fact that scheduling interviews is a daunting task with varying schedules and time zones and coordinating schedules and all that kind of stuff. So this is just something that I'm floating around in my head right now. I haven't finalized that 100%, so just be on just have it on your radar in case I do decide to do that, so that you are not blindsided. That I'm probably going to end season 1 here at in the next few weeks, and then begin season 2 at the start of the new year, 2019. So we can start fresh and ready to go for another wonderful year of crafting and fun. Don't forget that all of my patterns are available in my Etsy store, Ginger Gerald Designs. Stories of the North Seas Part 2 is available. If you are interested in paper patterns, which I've been told many of you do like, if you buy 2, you can get free shipping if you use the coupon code buy2 ship free. All the information will be in the information section below, as well as a link to my Etsy store. Go check that out. I usually am able to ship if you purchase patterns and the printed patterns, I'm able to get it out the next day in the mail. So I'm very, very quick with my shipping. The only time that might not be the case, and if you do purchase while I'm away in Minnesota, I will definitely message you just to let you know that upon return is whenever I will get the patterns out to you. I am not going to shut down the store just because of that, because I'm only away for a few days. So and with that, I think I'm going to end this thread, and we're going to call it a wrap for this episode. I hope you have a wonderful weekend of stitching and crafting and knitting and whatever your crafting fun is. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will be back on sometime in the week for my stitching update. You all have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. And don't forget to always be creative.